So Montrose is gay and suffers from PTSD. Ruby wants to be white. Christina and William are definitely the same person, and Christina had the best entry onto the show yet. Even though she's evil, I love that. Indiana Jones is colonialist as F. And there was an amazing plot twist at the end. I really enjoyed this episode. Let's take a deeper dive into this week's Lovecraft Country's themes and explore Montrose's reasoning for why he did what he did. I'm not saying it's right, but I think it makes sense. You are now listening to Opinionated Olivia. If you like what I have to say, give me a cheeky little thumbs up and a subscription will not go amiss. Now let's get into this. So this week's episode started with Montrose drinking, sobbing and reading the bylaws and precepts of the Order of the Ancient Dawn. If you remember, this is the book that Uncle G stole from the Braithwaite's mansion in episode 2. Uncle G's dying wish was for Montrose to give the book to Tic. However, Montrose has other plans. As Montrose reads the book, we hear the words, "The only way for us to defeat the Reds is to destroy their stockpile," on the radio. This is telling us as viewers that Montrose believes that getting rid of the stockpile for the Sons of Adam or the Order of Ancient Dawn is the key to saving Tic. However, there's way more to the story that he is just not aware of. I really like how this show is exploring PTSD and it's done this through Montrose. He's visibly traumatised by his life events, and in the opening scene we see him in an alcohol-infused daze. He's experienced racial trauma, and this episode pretty much confirms he's gay. He remembers his father beating him for having a flower in his hair, which is a stereotype for gay men, and also Tree's insinuations. Furthermore, the loss of his brother. There's quite clearly generational abuse running through the family. Just like he was beaten by his father, he then goes and beats Tic. So the abused becomes the abuser. Montrose is a self-destructive character. He uses booze to medicate his pain. We see how his self-destruction spills over with the way he handles the book. The episode of the title, A History of Violence, is fitting. Montrose embodies this through generational violence, self-loathing, self-harming and violent behaviour. I believe Montrose is afraid of the magic, the power, quote unquote, that the Whiteys have. When he burns the book, he says it smells like Tulsa, meaning he does not want a repeat of the history and the violence. See what I did there? The Tulsa Race Massacre took place in 1921, when a mob of white residents who got weapons from the city officers attacked black residents and businesses. It's often referred to as the Black Wall Street Massacre. This reference is depicting that Montrose does not want to see another scenario where black people are being persecuted by white people because they are not seen to be in their place. We could say that this is just like how his father treated him for not fitting into the male gender stereotype. I also believe that Montrose killing Yahima fits into the whole self-destruction character arc. Yahima is both male and female, so we could say that Montrose is acting out of his own self-hatred and his identity crisis. And yeah, I know he's done this to protect Tic, however, I just saw this as another way to interpret it. So when Montrose is reading the book, we see the passage or poem. Adam named, Eve effed, God brought forth monsters, monsters devoured, God smites Eve. Yeah, so I kind of have a theory for this. Just hear me out, and if you agree, let me know. But if you disagree or have your own theories, let me know in the comments below. In episode 2, Whitey on the Moon, Sam did a speech to Christina and Tic regarding Adam. He explained how he believed that white men are the next best thing to God, and God let Adam order the world. Geez, he has a serious superiority complex. But this explains the first line, Adam named. Then we have Eve effed, meaning she fornicated alone. That's not what Sam's painting was showing, but here we're seeing how Eve is being blamed for sinning. Therefore, all women are held at a lower standard to men. They're untrustworthy and temptress. God brought forth monsters could be interpreted that monsters are black people, non-whites. As I explained to episode 2, that black people and non-whites are seen at the bottom of the pecking order. Throughout this episode, we hear derogatory references towards black people, such as savages, to emphasise this point. God smites Eve. This might be talking about Hannah, Tic's ancestor, and how they try to sacrifice her. Or maybe it's even going to be Leti and it's foreshadowing this, but we have to wait and see. So do you remember last week when I said the opening scenes hold the clues to what the episode's going to be about and the themes? Well, Christina's handing up in her Rolls Royce with "Bitch, I have my money" in the background, being a whole mood is showing her wealth and privilege, but also her complete disregard to everything. Even though what she experienced at Arden Lodge and then Tic trying to murder her, nothing can hold her down. To me, this scene embodies capitalist greed and society's approved violence, similar to the whole theme of Whitey's on the Moon episode 2. But not only that, it also centres around colonial theft, fraud and appropriation, which fits nicely with the episode's title, A History of Violence, because we know that the colonialists would go to countries, use violence, take all of their minerals, materials, basically loot the country and then take it back to their own places. Then obviously we had the whole Indiana Jones feel towards the end of the episode, but I will go into that more detail later on. Now back to Christina, I think her and William are one of the same. She was not allowed to join the order due to her sex, but as we've seen with her, she'll let nothing stop her, so I think she has the ability to change sexes, and I believe that she'll give Ruby a similar power, but I'm jumping ahead. We know that Christina gave Leti the money for her house, and she's here as a debt collector, hence the song. However, when she arrives, she's not able to enter the house due to the protection spell. Do you see where I'm going with Ruby here? Christina came over to manipulate her by bonding over their shared experiences as women. However, Letty's way too smart for this. Christina reveals that she wants the orrery, but we already know that Hippolyta has this, so I guess it must have some sort of superpower and is going to play into her overall scheme. Fast forward and we see Leti goes to the Southside Coloured Library, and we can see a subtle hint to the 1950 segregation. Atticus tells Leti that he couldn't kill Christina because of the spell she learnt from her father, and Christina wants the pages. Atticus meets Leti and Montrose at the bar, but also Tree, and he informs us he's named that because, he's well endowed. Then we cut to Christina playing with some white kids. Bit of an odd scene. She's dressed as a plain harmless girl, non-threatening at all, and for us viewers it makes us start to question her and have a bit of empathy. She probably had a very sheltered childhood and makes her slightly more human. But not only that, we learn that she's not only playing Tic, but she's playing an order as well. They see her as a naive little girl, which is not the case. Her game of hide and seek is quickly interrupted when the police turn up and take her to Captain Lannister. We learn that he is part of the order. He wants to know what she's up to, and she plays innocent and says she doesn't know how black people bought the house. Lannister makes it clear it doesn't matter if she finds the orrery or the stolen pages. She is not welcome because she's a woman in his order or part of the other 39 lodges. And in her head, you can definitely see her thinking, challenge accepted. Montrose, Leti, Atticus, Diana and H somehow all manage to fit in a car and head off on their journey. H is joining because she still wants to find out what happened to Uncle G. But I quickly want to point out here that people you may trust to keep you safe might actually be causing you harm by lying to you. We see how Christina lies to Leti, Leti lies to Ruby, William lies to Ruby, Tic lies to Leti, Montrose lies to Tic, and Christina lies to Captain Lannister. I seriously believe in the long run, all these lies are going to catch up on the people they're lying to and cause more damage than good. Then we see Ruby trying to get a job at a department store. However, she quickly realises she's unlikely to get a job because there's already a black girl working there. So at this point I had two observations. The fact that there are only black staff to only serve black customers, and also the quota of only having one staff. Here we're seeing how black staff are being used by the department store to seem like they are inclusive. Therefore, they will have black customers and get their money. So essentially using them for their own gain. Just like how Sam, Christina and the Order use Tic for his powers. But the underlying thing is they just do not rate black people. So like Montrose, Ruby is also self-loathing. I think she wishes to be white so she doesn't have to have the same struggles as black people do, and she'll be able to just walk into the department store and get a job straight away. In last week's episode, we saw her call Letty's pioneering a distraction to getting on with the limited ways that her blackness allows. Here, Ruby is reflecting the ways that internalized racism plays out. Therefore, that's why I believe Christina or William, whatever you want to call them, will take advantage of this and help Ruby become white and maybe make her do some things that she probably wouldn't have done otherwise. The group then go to find Braithwaite's vault, and we hear Leti call out Tree for lying about sleeping with her. Naughty boy. We also hear H tells a story about how she named a comet, however the credit was given to a white woman. Typical. Here we're seeing a complete disregard towards black people, their input, their value and their place in society. But Diana was the cutest, sweetest little girl advocating on her mum's behalf. I love that. Montrose meets the security guard and we see Titus's collection. Apparently Titus were given these things as gifts for teaching the savages how to do things, but we later learn that he stole them. He was a ruthless, evil man and he used a lot of violence to take what he wanted. Again, this relates back to the title. And because he has power, he's completely be able to rewrite history and portray himself in a better light. I found some parallels here with the British Empire and just colonialism in general. Geoffrey Robinson, a trustee from the British Museum, has said it's the world's largest receiver of stolen property, and a great majority of their loot is not even on display. He continued to say that it should wash its hands of blood, basically by getting rid of all of the stolen property and giving it back to the native countries. There was also the scene of Atticus, Leti and Montrose doing an Indiana Jones inspired task. To me, this is symbolism for, I'm going to say that this might be an unpopular opinion. However, although I appreciate Indiana Jones, I just have to say it is aged terribly. It kind of glamorises the idea of the white people taken from the non-white savages. But in true form to Lovecraft Country, this whole theme is flipped completely on its head when we see the black people taking back what's theirs. Again, similar to episode 2. We also hear Tree teasing that Sam and Montrose have been getting close, hinting that there's like a sort of homosexual relationship, but I've already discussed that. The trio realise that the vault is under a statue, and episode references The Last Crusade, member of the last ark, etc. And it was a fun scene, to be honest. We hear a shout out to the legendary Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens is an Olympic icon. In 1935, he made sporting history when he broke 5 world records. One of these world records, 8.13 metres for the long jump, which would last for 25 years. But arguably, what he's most known for is defying Adolf Hitler. 1936, at the Berlin Olympics, Hitler hoped to prove that his theory that the Aryan race were the superior one. Instead, Owens sealed Olympic history by becoming the most successful athlete of the 1936 Games, winning gold for 100 metres, 200 metres, relay and long jump. But although he achieved such an amazing accomplishment, due to his race, he was unfortunately snubbed by the US president. He was not invited to visit the White House, nor did he receive a congratulations telegram. How old is this? For his honours. This was only reserved for the white Olympians. This just goes to show how inherently racist America was, well, in fact the world was at the time, but let's not speak about the way it's going today because that's another story. The trio then learned that the vault is connected to Leti's house, and I mean they could have just taken a shortcut and taken the elevator, but hey, there we go. As the water rises, they get to the core of the vault where they discover Yahima. Yahima is both male and female and is actually a Native American two-spirit person. Traditionally, two-spirited people are considered neither male or female, but this could possibly relate to Christina and William. Also, have you noticed this week, apart from the violence and the looting themes, it's all about gender and identity, male, female, in between, and possibly like homosexuality. It's quite interesting. We learn Yahira's story and how Titus imprisoned her because she refused to help him, and she also feels Titus's blood running through Tic, so she also refuses to help him. Then the water rushes in and Montrose grabs the papers. In the elevator, Tic and Leti have a lovely kiss, but this sweet moment is quickly interrupted by Yahima screaming and Tic punches her in the face. Flip to Diana and H, and Diana is looking at her father's map. H realises that Uncle G's last location is on the map and that they need to go there to find out more. I definitely think they're going to encounter some trouble, and unfortunately I'm going to blame Atticus for this because he should have been honest with them. So now back to Tic, and he decides that they should teach Yahima English so that she can translate the text. Montrose and Tic have a very sweet father and son moment. However, this doesn't last for long when Montrose walks up behind Yahira and slits her throat. Poor Yahima, I mean she's had a really tough time in her life. Or is she already dead? Well, her spirit's had a really tough time. Poor woman. Or man. I don't know. And that was the end of the episode. So we know Montrose wants to protect Tic, or so he says. He's willing to do whatever he can to keep Tic in the dark. I actually think he's being completely genuine when he says he wants to protect Tic. I think his behaviour's out of his self-hatred for himself and it comes out in violence. I think he does care for Tic, however he just doesn't know how to show this properly. So yeah, I think he's being genuine. I think this episode for me was by far my favourite. I'm really enjoying the character development. And we got to see more about Montrose and of course the twist, but more about his personality and into his mind a bit more, which I really enjoyed. I really love how Lovecraft Country is deconstructing a classic fiction narrative as well. The first 2 episodes brought H.P. Lovecraft to life just to kill him all over again, while the third took the whole haunted house trope, and then A History of Violence completely rips into the adventure and explorer stories of white heroes crashing around in foreign lands, rescuing damsels in distress, conquering savages and discovering hidden treasures. Yeah, so like I said, Indiana Jones just completely has not aged well, but hey, the whole bridge scene and the booby traps was really fun, so I enjoyed that. So to recap my predictions, I think that Ruby is going to be able to have the ability to change into a white woman, and she's going to become evil due to this, or she's going to become addicted to the power, and she's going to be the pawn of Christina and William. Montrose is going to keep one step ahead of Tic and Leti just to destroy anything he finds to throw them off their scent, but eventually this is going to cause more damage than good because Tic's going to get deeper and deeper into the whole story about the background, what's going on, but he won't know all the information, which is going to be really bad. And I think potentially Leti will be sacrificed, or someone will try and sacrifice her, but we'll have to wait and see. So I hope you really enjoyed this video and a breakdown about it. I know I really feel like I spoke a lot about the themes in this video this week, but if you did enjoy it, give me a thumbs up, and if you do want to give me a subscription, do it as well, because I will be doing weekly updates for this series. Thank you. Bye.